What's good, everybody? Selectorch here today, and I wanted to just make this video so we can quickly go over exactly what the new stats are and what functionality they bring to the table, so you guys can make some build ideas before we actually get to the updates release. With this update, we're actually getting 3 new stats, the 3 stats being Armor Pierce, Resistance, and Regeneration. These stats are all equally important. As you come to find, they have a function within the game, a specific purpose that they're aiming to achieve, just like the other stats we currently have. Starting off, we have Regeneration. Now, Regeneration was created because we decided to remove defense giving HP regen, right? So now defense is just increasing your HP, which increases your kind of like tankiness, how tanky you are, right? Now, we thought that having regen with extra HP gave you too much survivability. So instead, we decided to separate HP gain and regeneration. So now pretty much every build has the same regeneration unless you decide to invest into regen, which is actually very, very nice, because then, you know, tanky builds aren't exactly going to just stat gap you because they're super tanky now. Now you can actually win if you actually land your shots and if they don't stall, which is really, really good. Now, with that being said, since now regen and HP are separate, you know, gains, you can actually make a regeneration build. You can make builds that completely counter dot, but don't do well against impact damage, which is actually very interesting, right? Because you can have like a regeneration agility build where you kind of just dodge around, try to build up your HP instead of taking direct hits, which is a different style of play, right? We want to incorporate as many builds as possible within Arcane Odyssey because that's what makes the interactions unique, right? Against PvE, against PvP, all that type of sort. It's also really fun to just receive new stats too. But yeah, that is the regeneration stat. I recommend going this stat if you just want to, you know, have a nice healthy build. If you want to play agility regeneration is really good. Or if you want to play HP regen, you know, get the old thing you had back before. All very good stuff. Next up is Armor Pierce. Now, as the name suggests, Armor Pierce will be able to actually pierce armor. So it does more damage depending on how much defense the target has or how much resistance the target has. So this includes stuff like block, the resistance stat, the defense stats, any defense aura. You just do more damage the more HP the person has, which is actually really good, especially when dealing with mages who like to spam surge or mages who block often, who parry often. You'd actually be able to pierce their defenses and actually do decent damage. Now, of course, the more resistance they have, the more you're actually able to pierce, right? You'll be able to do more damage during those times. So paladin builds, you know, their resistant dodges, there's 50% in there, 50% resistance in their dodges. You actually be able to pierce that depending how much piercing you have. Now, this stat's honestly really good when paired up with power. If you're running power, you probably want to run Armor Pierce. Now, you're not obligated to, but you can. So there's that. This I don't see too often. I don't really see people running pure Armor Pierce, because pure Armor Pierce, you won't do enough damage in base to actually get the full extent of Armor Pierce. Armor Pierce is really good when paired up with power. So you're definitely going to run this if you have a power build. So definitely pick up the stat if you want to do more damage to defensive targets. Next stat I want to talk over is resistance. Now, resistance is actually another new stat we're getting in the Nimbus Sea updates, where you're pretty much just resistance to all forms of attacks during your blocking, passively, during your attacks at some point. Some skills do have resistance while being used, so those skills get amplified by this stat. There's other things as well where your dashes are more resistance as well if you have res dashes. So there's that too. But yeah, you only will ever run resistance if you want to be counteracting Armor Pierce, because resistance does negate more damage, right? The more resistance you have, the less damage you're going to take. Now, I do see a lot of people running this stat simply because it makes you tankier, right? This stat is going to be good to pair up with power, with attack speed. Maybe not attack speed, because in attack speed, it kind of does the same thing. You have less end lag, less startup. You get hit less often. All right, so resistance won't proc unless you get hit. If you're getting hit less often, then you probably don't want to run resistance. But yeah, I definitely see this stat pairing up well with regen and defense. If not, the 3 combined together. The stat resistance is really good. especially if you find yourself blocking and parrying a lot or dashing with the res dashes a lot. So for example, if you are Iron Leg and you're running res aura, you can stack up some resistance as well as your dashes getting very, very nice damage reduction. It's really, really good. I recommend this to anyone who wants to be a tank, really. So yeah, pick up the stat if you want to be a tank. I highly suggest it. As the update approaches closer, I will again make other videos talking over the stat and how to actually build up these stats effectively so you guys are able to utilize these builds in the Nimbus Sea update. Because as always, the meta is changing ever so slightly with each Arcane Odyssey update, bringing a breath of fresh of new air for you guys to enjoy.